The crown has survived scandal. It has survived betrayal. It has survived divorce, death, and decades of headlines that could have brought it to its knees. But nothing inside those palace walls prepared the staff for the day Queen Camilla and Princess Anne stopped speaking in whispers and started speaking in war. Before we go any further, answer me this in the comments. Do you think a king should ever choose duty over the woman he loves? Now let's get into it. Hit subscribe because this story only gets heavier from here. It was supposed to be a quiet afternoon. A meeting had just wrapped up inside the palace, and a handful of senior aides lingered in the hallway outside, waiting on one final sign-off from King Charles before a major royal engagement could move forward. To an outsider, this might sound like nothing more than paperwork, but inside the walls of the monarchy, nothing is ever just paperwork. Every name on that guest list, every position in that lineup, decides who the public sees as the face of the crown that week. And that's exactly why what happened next mattered so much. Someone had quietly changed the order of the engagement without going through the usual channels. Princess Anne noticed immediately. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't accuse anyone. She simply asked calmly why protocol hadn't been followed. But calm or not, the question landed like a thunderclap. Because Camilla didn't hear a simple question. She heard a challenge, one delivered in front of the very people whose respect she'd spent years trying to earn. Here's the part almost nobody talks about. Anne didn't have to raise her voice to command the room. She never has. Decades of quiet, consistent service had already done that work for her. The aides in that hallway didn't turn to her because she demanded it. They turned to her out of habit, because when Anne speaks about protocol, people listen. Camilla felt that shift in the room, and it broke something in her. Without warning, she turned on Anne, accusing her, right there in front of staff, of disrespect and public embarrassment. The hallway went dead silent. Anne didn't flinch. She stood there composed, almost unreadable, which, staff would later say, made the moment feel even heavier. But King Charles couldn't stay silent, not this time. He slammed his hand down, hard enough to silence the room instantly, and ordered every staff member out, leaving only his wife and his sister behind closed doors. As the aides filed out, one of them caught a glimpse of the king's face. It wasn't the expression of a husband trying to smooth things over. It was anger, and for the first time, it wasn't directed at Anne. But what actually pushed things this far? Stick around because this wasn't the first time these two had clashed, not even close. Rewind a few weeks. Long before the hallway confrontation, there was a rehearsal, a private run-through for a state reception. On paper, it was routine. In reality, it was a minefield. Because in royal circles where you stand isn't just about logistics, it's about status, influence, who the crown trusts. Camilla arrived that day believing the updated lineup reflected her growing standing, her people, placed in more prominent spots. To her, it felt like recognition. Anne saw something else entirely, a break from decades of established protocol. She said nothing dramatic. She simply pointed it out calmly and let the facts speak for themselves. The officials in the room didn't hesitate. They corrected it immediately, no debate, no pushback. And that, more than anything, told Camilla everything she needed to know about where the real authority in that room actually sat. Later, word reached her that Charles had personally thanked Anne for catching the error. Not scolded, not questioned, thanked. For Camilla, that single sentence didn't just sting. It planted a seed of resentment that would grow for weeks. Because a few weeks later, that same tension came back, and this time it wouldn't stay quiet. The second clash didn't start with shouting either. It started with silence, the kind that makes a room feel smaller. Anne asked once again why a palace decision had bypassed her office entirely. A fair question. A dangerous one, too, because it forced everyone in the room to ask who was really making decisions behind the scenes. Before Charles could even respond, Camilla cut in. Not calmly this time. She accused Anne of something much bigger than one bad meeting, of spending years hiding behind protocol to undermine her position in the family. Anne let her finish every word. Then, without raising her voice even slightly, she said the line that would echo through the palace for days afterward. Duty is exactly what has kept the crown standing. Nobody spoke after that. Every eye in the room turned to Charles, waiting to see which way he would fall. This is the moment that changed everything. Charles pushed his chair back so hard it scraped across the floor, a small sound that landed like a gunshot in that silence. In that instant, he stopped being a husband trying to keep the peace. He became a monarch protecting an institution. And that institution mattered more than either woman in that room. Later, alone in his study, he read a written account of everything that had happened, every accusation, every silence, every moment his authority had cracked in front of the people sworn to uphold it. That report didn't need drama. The facts alone were damning enough. Meanwhile, Anne asked for nothing. No apology campaign, no punishment. She simply went back to work and let her silence do what words couldn't. Charles understood exactly what that silence meant. So what did he actually decide? This is the part that shocked even senior staff. There was no announcement, no press release, no dramatic scene. Just one quiet instruction. Camilla was removed from overseeing the final arrangements of the upcoming royal engagement. That responsibility now belonged to Anne. To an outsider, that might sound like a scheduling change. Inside the palace, it was something else entirely. A signal, understood instantly by everyone who mattered, about where trust now sat. No one questioned it. No one pushed back. It had already stopped being personal. It was policy now. For Camilla, the news arrived the way these things often do, quietly, through a briefing document handed over by an aide who wouldn't meet her eyes. She read it once, then again as if the words might change on a second read. They didn't. But the real gut punch was still coming, because Camilla was about to find out exactly whose decision this really was. Alone with the document, Camilla finally asked the question that had been sitting in her chest all day. Had Anne asked for this? The answer came slowly, reluctantly. No, this hadn't come from Anne at all. It had come from Charles. That single fact hurt more than any confrontation ever could. Anne had simply defended tradition. Charles had made a choice, and that choice had gone against his own wife. When he finally walked into the room to face her, there were no advisors, no staff, just two people and a conversation neither of them wanted but both knew was overdue. Charles didn't defend his decision by attacking Camilla. He defended it by explaining what he'd actually seen. Not two women arguing, but an institution losing its composure in front of the people who serve it. He admitted quietly that he'd hesitated too long before stepping in, and that hesitation had let things spiral. As he spoke, something in Camilla shifted. Her anger gave way to something rawer, years of feeling like she'd never quite measured up to a woman who never even seemed to be trying. Because that's the thing about Anne. She never needed to compete. Decades of unglamorous, consistent duty engagements, causes, quiet loyalty through every family crisis had already made the case for her. Charles knew that better than anyone, and he knew personal feelings could never outweigh what the crown needed. But would Camilla accept that? Or was there one more confrontation waiting? In the days that followed, Anne carried on exactly as she always had, composed, focused, giving away nothing in public. Camilla, on the other hand, disappeared from view. No explanation, just absence, the kind that says more than any statement could. Eventually, Charles arranged a private meeting. No staff, no witnesses, just the two women face to face. For the first time in a long while, Camilla struggled to find her words. Eventually, they came, an admission that her emotions had gotten the better of her judgment, and that the confrontation had embarrassed more than just Anne. It had embarrassed the crown itself. Anne listened without interrupting. When Camilla finished, she accepted the apology simply, without gloating, reminding her that respect in this family is earned through self-control, not status. Charles watched quietly. This wasn't about ending an argument. It was about reminding everyone in that room, including himself, that no title outranks duty to the crown. So do you think Charles made the right call? Would you have chosen duty over your own spouse? Let us know in the comments. Hit subscribe for more royal deep dives, and we'll see you in the next one. This video presents a dramatized, speculative narrative for entertainment purposes. It is not based on confirmed reporting and should not be taken as factual reporting on real events or individuals.